The holidays are here. It's that time of season to reward those who act in reason. But off to the side, despite our flinches, are those getting coal, the feminist Grinches. Do not worry though, friend, you've nothing to fear. We'll deal with them all with holiday cheer. Join the Honey Badgers as we discuss this year's biggest feminist Grinches. As always, the show will be available for download after the broadcast at honeybadgerbrigade.com.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular, this is Honey Badger Radio, radio with bite.
Hello and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Tonight's episode is Feminist Grinch, in which we talk about the naughty and nice of 2014. With me today is a lovely panel of individuals. We have Karen Strawn. Karen Strawn, come on. I know you don't really need an introduction, but give one anyway.
I'm Karen Strawn. I vlog on YouTube. Just uploaded a video today at Girl Writes What user/Girl Writes What, or you can search me under my real name, Karen Strawn. And I blog at owningyourshit.blogspot.com. I'm affiliated loosely with The Voice for Men. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. And yeah, there you go.
And Hannah Wallen. Oops, we're getting an echo. Karen, mute. Go ahead, Hannah.
Hello, I'm Hannah Wallen, and there's always got to be technical difficulties surrounding me. But I write breakingtheglasses.blogspot.com and for several other blogs and sites as well. And I'm just happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Okay, Rachel Edwards, mount the stage.
Present. Hi. I'm Rachel Edwards. I blog and stuff for, Honey Badger Radio and the Honey Badger Brigade thing, and I'm awkward. And yeah, sorry about that, but I also write for a gaming website.
You're not really sorry. You're not sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. And
you're not. You secretly really enjoy being awkward.
Yes, I do. I also write for a gaming website called 20ounce.com. That's 20oz.com, and I blog for my Tumblr at naughtynerdist.tumblr.com. You can see me write comments about the crazy antics of Elf on the Shelf.
And thank you, Rachel.
I'm watching you, Elf. Your days are numbered.
Thank you. And Anna Cherry is with us tonight on the radio show. You guys may know her from the podcast, the Badger Pod Nerdcast. But tell us a bit about yourself for those of you who aren't familiar with you, Anna.
Hello, I'm really happy to be here, and I am, cosplayer. Well, I don't guess, I am. I'm a cosplayer, adult entertainer, and I do write and blog a lot on sexuality and gender on my Medium writers page, as well as sluttygirlproblems.com. And I also YouTube, and going to be launching a bit of a Sarkeesian parody video series on YouTube about my opinions on tropes versus men in media, so that should be something fun that I started working on. So yeah, that's about it. And I ditto Rachel on the awkwardness thing. So yeah, that's it for me.
Oh, you can be awkwardness pals.
Woo! Awkward twins powers.
When their twin when awkward twin powers activate, form of a dildo.
It would be.
What form of awkward silence? Okay, and I am your host, Allison Tiemann. And I am your, general purveyor of the cunty desire to stay on topic, which some people seem to seem to dislike about me, but that's what I do. I stay on topic, or I try to keep people on topic. And I also
in every team there's a need for that. Like in esports, when there's a team of 5 in League of Legends, for instance, there's always someone who's known as the caller, as the shot caller, because it's the person who like brings everybody in and keeps them on track. And we need you, Allison. We need you.
Aww.
Integral part of the team.
And I'll more on that a bit later, but I write sometimes I create YouTube videos and I think about things and I tell you what I think, and on my YouTube channel, which is, I believe, Gender-atic. Don't quote me on that, but you could try that. That might work. And I also do a webcomic. It's you can find that at xenospora.com. It deals with men's and societal issues and a dramatic adult science fiction with a little bit of comedy and breasts and a secret penis in the second chapter. That was, yeah, a lot of people apparently went to my comic last Wednesday to try to find, which was very amusing. But anyway, that's me. And let's. I'll got a few show announcements, and then we'll go right into the news and discuss that briefly. And then after that, we'll go to the naughty and nice list. First of all, as some of our listeners know, Crystal Garcia has decided to move on from the men's movement and a lot of her involvement with the movement. She's still doing her UN petition for Boys and Men's Council on Boys and Men, but her last episode with Honey Badger Radio was last week, and it's a situation where she just felt emotionally she wanted to move on to do something different, and to move away from labels and organizations and just go off on her own. And we will miss her a great deal, but we respect her personal decision to do what she needs to do for herself and for how she wants to affect the world in the future. And we appreciate the time that she did spend with us. I personally think she brought a much needed voice of more of a spiritual, compassionate voice. And of course, yes, her laughter was beautiful. So, she's going off onto a different part of her journey of her life, and we wish her well. And we still talk to her. We're still friends. It's just, it is what it is. She needs to move on, and that's something that happens. And all you can do is be grateful for what somebody has given you and how they've impacted your life and made it better. And she definitely has. Like I said, I think that her voice was something that will be missed just because it was unique. She brought that spiritual, compassionate perspective and that willingness to be honest about her own struggles. So thank you, Crystal, for a wonderful 8 months. Might have been a bit longer than that, but I'm not sure. And all the best with everything that you're doing now. And that's that. And also, going back to my role as Anna put it, the shot caller, we do have a final member on our committee, Censor Duck. Now, this is a group show. Because of that, the format is that everybody gets to talk if they want to. And we do have topics that we adhere to, so somebody has to keep it on topic and make sure that everybody can speak. That's the format, and everybody here knows that that's the format. But of course, we do have a resident Viking rant zerker, not naming any names, Karen,
oh my God, I am not. Okay, yeah, okay.
Who, while she has incredibly valuable things to say, she will shred a topic, and then she'll shred every subtopic related to that topic and every tangential topic related to the subtopics related to the topic. And sometimes, that doesn't work in a format where you're trying to keep it to a certain length of time to certain topics. And as much as we all absolutely want to hear what she has to say, it's still a different format. I can imagine her as a Viking berserker of old, and you just point her at the enemy and she slays the enemy. Then she slays the town behind it. Then she wades into the coast and swims the Pacific and slays some sharks along the way.
Then cut up somebody's lungs and splay them on the ground.
Yeah, it's just
and for the gamers out there, yes, that is called Great Cleave. She has the feat Great Cleave. And the rest of the group has no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
It sounds pretty epic, though.
Yeah. So, but it's like it's just and the reality is that we're all friends here. Our bickering is not real, except for Karen. She's a sulfurous cunt knuckle.
I am, but I don't actually hold it against anybody when they call me that. This is really the thing, and I know that there have been some comments sort of wondering if there's really some antagonism between the people on this show, and there just really isn't. I have a certain hostility towards Censor Duck, mainly because he looks like a cunt. No, he does. He does. And if I ever meet him, I will rip his head off. However,
shit down his throat.
I will shit down his throat as if I'm shitting through the eye of a needle. However, I will bear no ill will toward Allison over the fact that Censor Duck is there. Because it is a group show and everybody needs a chance to speak, and I do have a tendency to bulldoze over people. So yeah.
Well, but you're the Viking rant zerker, and we love you for it.
I know.
Makes for great YouTube videos like today's. I giggled. It was wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda. So we have a new reward on our Patreon. If we make it to $350 per episode, which is actually sort of deceptive. It's not really per episode. It's just the first episode of the month. And then every episode after that is usually a bit less. But if we make it to that, we'll start to offer a regular call-in show through Blog Talk Radio, which, because it's Blog Talk, the sound quality tends to be bad. So we'll have to restrict it to 1 or 2 people, and it may not end up as a podcast depending on the sound quality. But you will be able to call in and talk to us again. It won't be at this time. It'll be another time during the week. But yeah, if that's something that interests you, actually being able to call in and talk to us and interact with us, and maybe for those kinds of shows, we can do something like we just set up targets that Karen annihilates and vaporizes and turns into molecular nothingness. And while we talk to you, in between talking to you guys or something. But anyway, if you're interested in that, please do help us get to $350 per episode. And when we do, we will do that. And finally, the next 2 weeks coming up, we're taking a bit of hiatus from the regular show, and we're presenting a helpline. Not a helpline, but silent open lines. How that works is we will have a show. It'll probably be playing music or simply letting Karen rant. And in the background, if you want to talk to us privately, you can talk to us privately. If you want to talk to us on air, you can talk to us on air. And it's just to help those people who might be a bit sad during the holiday season to know that, we're out there. We want to help. We want you, to contact us if you are feeling sad, or just want to chat and talk about something. And disclaimer: none of us are health professionals, mental health professionals, but it's there if you want it. And the number for that will be, it's not active now, so don't try to call and talk to us at this point in time. It will be 1-347-215-8746. That is 1-347-215-8746. And yeah, so if you are feeling a little down, or you want to talk about something interesting or something great that happened to you, just write that number down and remember to call in next week at this time or the week after. That's Christmas Day or New Year's, and have a chat with us. I believe at this point in time, Karen, Rachel, and myself will be manning the lines, and maybe what we can do is have Rachel set up targets for Karen to annihilate, and while I take calls in the back room. Well, that could change as well. Anyway, take down that number and give us a call. I'll hand the mic over to Rachel to make things even more awkward.
Hey, Allison.
And start with the news.
Hey.
There you go.
Hey, Allison.
Yeah.
Hey, Allison.
Yes. Hi, Rachel. Yes, Rachel. Yeah.
Danger zone. Okay.
All right.
But we've got some wonderful news for today. It's actually a little bit shorter, but you know what? We're gonna make up for it later on with our naughty and nice list. It's gonna be great. So, we're going to start off with an interesting story, one you guys have probably heard of already. Writer of satirical article has his home vandalized by SJWs. Omar Mahmood, I'm probably butchering this name, a student at the University of Michigan, was barred from writing in a student newspaper on campus after controversy erupted over an article he'd written. The article in question was entitled Do the Left Thing. The article was a satirical piece pointing fun at the ultra-liberal, overly sensitive branch of the political left, aka social justice warriors. So of course, without skipping a beat, the overly sensitive political left not only could not take a joke, but decided to throw a fit. Women on the left-leaning publication complained, claiming that they felt he created a hostile work environment and that they felt unsafe. Mahmood was then terminated from the publication after refusing to apologize for the piece he'd written. After his termination, the door to his off-campus apartment was vandalized. The door was pelted with eggs, hot dogs, pictures of Satan, and vicious messages, saying things like, "Everyone hates you, you violent prick, and shut the fuck up." Surveillance cameras captured the alleged perpetrators of the crime, all of which appear to be women in hoodies. The investigation into the vandalism is ongoing. Would you guys like to comment on that? Sorry about my cat. He decided that he wanted to spend some time in my room.
I don't know how much there is to say on that. Go ahead, Hannah.
Well, I will say one thing. It's pretty common for the very same people who would attack this guy for saying things that they don't like to shout to the four winds when they feel attacked over something they've said. You think about it, you look back at not just Anita Sarkeesian, but pretty much every social justice warrior that has gone up against Gamergate, every social justice warrior that has gone up against any political group, whether they want to consider a right-wing political group or whether they want to consider it some other ideology, religious groups, the first thing they do is turn around and damsel over being intimidated into silence by threats from their opponents, and by even just people making jokes about them that they want to consider threats. So here you have the same objections, the same type of objection. Well, we disagree with what you've said, and what's the first thing they do? They turn around and try to shut him down from speaking, and they vandalize his living space. So I don't have any sympathy for any of them. When they want to yell about getting vandalized or getting doxxed or getting silenced, getting intimidated into silence, if they're going to turn around and do the same shit.
Well, okay, but one of the things that I want to say too, right, to that is that, and on the video that I uploaded today, I mentioned swatting, right? Swatting is a phenomenon because one of these idiot fucking male feminists said, as a male, I'll never have to worry about my safety, if I expose my personal details online, and my contact information, right? Okay, so I'm like, okay, what's the worst possible fucking form, the worst, potentially most deadly form, right, of fucking with somebody online, right? Swatting. So I went and I looked at Wikipedia, and there were about 10 cases listed. One of them was a woman, Miley Cyrus, right? All the rest were men. And 3 of the detailed cases that weren't just sort of in a list, but they were actually detailed, and they were from this year, from 2014. They were men in the video gaming industry who were swatted, right? So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, you go ahead, Mr. Pink Shirt, and fucking post all of your details online, because obviously your penis is going to protect you from people who want to fuck with you, right? What the fuck are you even talking about, right? Total Biscuit came on my video and commented that there are a lot more cases, almost all men, of people in the industry who've been swatted. They just don't publicize them because they know if they publicize them, it will just encourage more of the same. Right? So you're looking at, like you're looking at a situation where on NPR radio you can have a report. You can have a report on rape culture in college campuses, right? And how 25% of women don't report their rapes because they consider it a personal matter, and 20% don't report because they're afraid of reprisals, right, and retaliation. Okay, and then in the next breath, the journalist will say, so the majority don't report because they're afraid. Yeah, no, that's not what the data says. Why are you stating that right after stating the other, right? Okay, and they're like they just glom onto this. Oh, these women, the majority of them don't report because they're afraid, even though only 20% of women who don't report choose not to report because they're afraid, right? And then they will literally think that danger to men doesn't exist because they don't make a big fat fucking hairy deal out of it, right? Yeah. Like, because they're not constantly complaining about how scared they are, right? That obviously none of it actually happened. Right?
Well, I think it's also a situation of any opportunity to increase the level of fear for women. But yes. Rachel sort of got stepped on a little in the queue there,
bulldozed over me, Karen.
You got to control the collateral damage, Karen. Those flying accidents.
Well, you got to jump in, Rachel, because I'm not always
she plundered me.
She'll train you in her Viking ways yet.
You again.
You know. See, just like that, you just jump in.
Teach me, Sensei. Teach me.
I won't even feel guilty about it either, Rachel. I will plunder you so hard and so long. Oh yeah.
But getting back to the topic though, this guy, I actually read his article and it was biting satire. It was pretty fucking epic, is what I would use to describe the situation, because basically it's an article where he he pretends to be a massive social justice warrior who is offended by the littlest thing and sees white male oppression everywhere and decides that he is being oppressed for being left-handed. And it's really beautiful. It's fantastic. I can see why these women got really, really upset, because it was beautiful. It's undescribably beautiful.
Oh, but the really cool thing is that about 40, 50 years ago, the level of oppression for people who were left-handed is like 100 times worse than what women experience today, right? Mm-hmm. Or even 20 or 30 years ago, right? Like if you were a left-handed person, you were writing with your left hand in class, you could be subject to corporal punishment in school, right? They would force you to write with your right hand.
Yeah, and in Islam, your left hand, if I'm not mistaken, is actually considered to be unclean, because that is the hand that you're supposed to use when you're in the bathroom, for your, for wiping.
Yeah, and so when you get one hand cut off, then you're really persona non grata.
Exactly, because then you're forced to use the hand that is considered to be unclean. So usually they will cut off your right hand, and so yes, but that's
it's not even all that long ago. Actually, I just typed it into chat, but I've got a friend who is ambidextrous that is my age, that is ambidextrous because she was beaten with a ruler every time she used her left hand to write in class. That was just during my childhood. That was common. You're not allowed to be left-handed.
And some kids are ambidextrous. My oldest,
yeah, but she wasn't naturally ambidextrous. Her left hand is still her favored hand, and now as an adult she writes with it and she does everything with it, but she works with both hands. Yeah, and the reason is she was bullied into training her right hand up to do things.
Well, and I bullied my son. I said, you have to pick a hand for every activity because you're in grade 3 now. Your penmanship is completely illegible because the moment your right hand gets tired, you just switch to your left and you don't get any practice on either one of them, right? And so now he uses his his left hand for eating, his right hand for writing, his left hand for cutting, his either hand for using the mouse, right? You know, it's the most bizarre thing. He's just completely all over the place with his hands, but he has favorite activities that he uses one or the other for, right?
Okay. Oh, Karen. Mute.
Sorry.
Echo.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Okay. Actually, before we go to the next news item, I'm gonna jump on this, and I'm actually gonna do a talk about the Dragon Con situation that occurred, or not situation. Someone asked if we could go to Dragon Con, and then
so awesome.
And then we actually had someone who apparently is working on putting forward a panel at Dragon Con. So she's apparently she's apparently going to be running a panel. She ran a panel in 2014. And she's in contact with the director of the video games panels at Dragon Con. Because she's going to be running another panel in 2014. And she stepped up and said, I could actually talk to the people at Dragon Con and see if they'd be interested in having us come and offer the opposite side of the spectrum, namely the side at which women aren't the victims of the entire universe and actually do have power and responsibility that goes with that power. So thank you, Penina, for that offer. And I sent you a message. I definitely would appreciate if you would look into it. Of course, part of the problem is the funds to get to Dragon Con, but the reality is that the geek and nerd and metal and gamer and socially, basically, the more socially ostracized communities of people who are just engaging in something they love, an escapist hobby, are the ones that apparently are willing to fight back against Feminist. I guess it always comes down to the artists and social outcasts, the bleeding hearts and artists, as Mike would say. But yeah, thank you, Penina, for this offer. And I just wanted to thank her. And actually, if you guys who are listening, give us some feedback. Would you like us to go to Dragon Con? If we do have the ability to do it, because I can also perhaps submit a proposal to Dragon Con for a panel that we might do, or we could perhaps rent a booth like we're doing with the Calgary Comic Con. So do give us some feedback on that if you'd like to see that happen. And thank you again to the she's actually also a Honey Badger patron, so thank you to Penina for stepping up and helping us out in that issue. Okay. Back to Rachel.
Hi.
Awkward it up, Rachel.
Hi, Allison.
Hi.
And anyway, okay, so
Awkward it up, baby. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing nothing but a. No, I'm.
You completely naked under those clothes, aren't you?
What? No, I'm wearing something. I assure you, I'm wearing something.
I know I'm naked under my clothes,
but I'm not wearing any pants. As those who read my blog know, I almost never wear pants when I'm
down with pants.
Down with the pants. But getting back to the topics, we have another story which you'll be glad to hear of. I'm hoping that it continues to go in this direction. Former Catholic tutor will face jail time after sex with 15-year-old boy. Abigail Simon, a former Michigan high school tutor, is expected to face a sentence of at least a decade for the seduction and assault of one of her students. Simon, who was 33 at the time, was found guilty of seducing and engaging in an illicit relationship with a minor. The trial itself was reportedly messy, with accusations that the victim was the aggressor and that the boy was popular and would never be believed over her. Abigail Simon was described as combative and at one point denied sexual contact with the boy at all. Then this switched to accusations that the boy was controlling and initiated the relationship. Detective David Gillum had this to say, quote, "The level of victim bashing and victim blaming and throwing this family, not only the victim, but the family, under the bus over and over and over is unprecedented in my 18 years. I've never seen anything to that degree," unquote. Abigail Simon was charged with 4 of the 5 counts against her and faces a maximum sentence of 15 years. So, who wants to talk about this one? But before that, I will clarify. The reason why they said Catholic tutor is I'm not really sure. That was something that was added there. I think it has to do with the possibility that it was a Catholic school. They didn't specify which school it was. So, you guys can discuss this.
I don't know whether it's necessarily Catholic bashing. I think it might just be you wouldn't expect that, right? It's like sexual abuse by a nun. You wouldn't necessarily expect a woman involved in a Catholic school system to, like, men involved in a Catholic school system. We all know all about that, but we don't necessarily consider women who are religious to be predacious at the same time. So
it gets worse than that though, because it was reportedly involved like rough sex. Like, she didn't just want normal sex with a 15-year-old, as normal as sex with a 15-year-old could be. She I think the family found out about it when they saw pictures of her on his phone in like garter belts and fishnet stockings and stuff like that. So she wasn't just interested in the regular stuff.
Oh, but I'm sure he made her send him
I'm sure
those pictures, right? Like he used his prodigious
penis powers,
privilege,
Devil penis magic,
penis power to coerce her into sending him that material. He actually should probably be in jail for doing that because obviously he's a horrible rapey male who is exerting his undeserved male privilege to control women, right?
She's just a puppet, really.
She really is.
God. Not only does he have to be incredibly, masculinity powered, I mean, he has to be even more so, because being a teacher or being a tutor, you're in a job where it is your job to take control of somebody else's behavior. And it's not necessarily, every kid that you teach is going to be the Red Chief from the Ransom of Red Chief. But for somebody in a position of any kind of teaching profession, whether it's classroom teacher or tutor or anything like that, to turn around and say that they were controlled by one of their students is absolutely ludicrous and infuriating. It's not bad enough, right, to victimize this kid. It's not bad enough to corrupt him and expose him to things that perhaps he wasn't ready for and hadn't been exposed to already, or even if he had, he didn't need to see him coming from his mentor. No, she has to turn around and play victim. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just asinine. It's worse than bad. It's asinine.
I don't think it's asinine to assume that somebody who is in a position ostensibly of being in sort of the inferior position can wield power. I mean, like what do we talk about all the time? We talk about the surrendered wife. We talk about women who are nominally and sort of institutionally considered to be submissive, and their husbands are considered to be in control. But at the same time, sort of there's a subtext of the woman being the one who's topping from the bottom, so to speak.
Oh, no.
Right?
This is a whole nother layer of bullshit, because this is, by taking a teaching job, you are overtly saying, I am in control.
Yes. And
this is not a situation where you're claiming to be submissive in any way, shape, or form, ever.
But what I'm saying is that it's possible that this kind of relationship could possibly exist, where a student could actually be the one who is in control, right? And the teacher
not if
could
that teacher belongs in her position.
That's right. The only way that situation, that relationship can operate in that way is if the teacher has completely abdicated their responsibility.
Exactly.
Right?
They haven't set the boundaries that can't be crossed. They're allowing things to happen.
Well, and they have complete authority to not allow them to happen.
Exactly.
And they're letting them happen. So, I mean, it's basically sort of a willful, even if it is a situation where this boy was sort of psychologically in charge of the relationship. And I'm not saying it was, and I don't think it was, but I'm saying that there are probably cases out there in existence where this has happened, whether the student is a male or a female, that it is the abdication of responsibility and the sort of the immaturity of the adult in that relationship.
It's an admission, an outright admission of incompetence.
It is.
Saying, I was the victim in this circumstance is no different. She might as well have stepped up and said, I'm a complete incompetent ass. I could not do my job. I should not have been there in the first place. I never deserved to be an educator because I don't know how to do it right.
You know what? I long for a society in which women are embarrassed to do something like that. Like, if you're an adult human being, you own your shit. You don't hide behind being a child or a child's excuse. You take responsibility for your actions. And I wish that society would throw that back at her and say, no.
Well,
you're an adult.
Yeah.
Act like it. Yeah. But I think Anna actually wanted to say something. Did you, Anna?
I just not really. I just kind of jumping in onto something just Karen was saying about the fact that I kind of feel where you're coming from, that it was sort of up to the teacher to set the boundaries, and the fact that she didn't is she's culpable by negligence, or it was kind of a willful thing. And also, not to mention, if this was a reverse gender situation, if there was a male who had a relationship with a 15-year-old girl, it would be pedophilia, rape, all these much harsher accusations. So that's kind of a side note.
There was a case in the UK just a year or two ago where I think she was 14 or 15, and she actively seduced, and she had actively tried to seduce, if I remember right, several adult men. Right, so this is a girl. She's on the sexual warpath. Right, she's actively seeking men, and she's lying about her age, and when the man was tried, the adult man who succumbed to her was tried for statutory rape. The judge gave him a light sentence and said that the girl's behavior was predatory, that she went out seeking adult men and lying about her age, lying about her intentions, trying to lure them in, right? That the man was not the pursuer. It was the girl in this case who was actively pursuing these men, right? And so in light of that, he could not apply the kind of harsh sentence on this man that he would to some pedophile who had painstakingly groomed an innocent victim, right? And
it's good to see.
It was really refreshing. But feminists got all up in arms. They screamed bloody blue murder, and then the sentence was reconsidered, and he was sentenced to a longer sentence. So I mean,
the fact that feminists can do that, they can literally snap their fingers and society changes and bends to their will. And how is that a symptom of being oppressed? Please explain this one to me.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's and then they will say, I mean, like there was what was it? What was it? Freaking! It wasn't Vice. There was another website that covered us, the honey badgers, at the ICMI. What was that?
Another it was a female-orientated one,
yeah.
I think.
No, it was a woman. She was Asian. She was really nice.
Okay, these are not enough clues to go on.
Yeah, it's really vague, but
yeah, it's something.
If I can add something to this.
Yeah, let Karen, let Rachel go.
But she interviewed a feminist who was a professor of communications and media, right? Who said, MRAs say that women did this and feminists did this and feminists did this, and I only wish we had that kind of power. And it's like, what is that? That's just saying, what are you, scared of a girl? I'm just a little girl. Here, let me curl my hair into pigtails, and I'm just going to jump rope and pretend that I have no power when somebody's calling me on the carpet for something, right?
Wow.
They're extremely powerful, but the moment that there's something that somebody says, something bad happened and you're partly culpable, then they're like, oh, but we're just girls and we don't have any power.
You're playing the both sides, of course. And I mean, I just like to say real quick that we've moved as a society from having something like a brain tumor affecting a woman's, predatory behavior towards young boys, and then being like, okay, well, and now we've moved on to, he's a male, his male magic penis juju made me do it. So it's like, how did that happen? What happened to reason and rationality in the past, 5 years?
I think it's been a lot longer than 5 years, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Rachel.
But the thing about it is, I did see some video of a testimony of her on the stand trying to say that he was controlling. It was completely out of hand. It was ridiculous. I'm like, you do realize, woman, that you are the adult here. The 15-year-old is not the adult.
Yeah, you realize he has no chest hair.
You are the one who decided to start having sex with him. Okay? This is a situation where you made the decisions as an adult to have sex with someone who was not an adult. And it was just, oh my god, it was so ridiculous. I was embarrassed for her because she was there being all tearful, and then when the sentencing happened, when they found her guilty of the 4 of the 5 counts, you had these big crocodile tears in her eyes, like, oh, I can't believe that they found me guilty when I am the victim. Don't you know that I am the victim here? And the fact that before all this, at first she denied that she ever had sex with him, and then it was, he forced me. He was abusive. He smacked me across the face at one time when we were in school. Like, and you didn't reprimand him. You really want to say that this really happened, that you had no control of the situation of the situation that you started. It's completely ridiculous. It was so absurd, and I'm pretty sure it got even more absurd. This was not the most absurd thing that happened in the entire case. That's something that was reflected from everybody who was involved, from the jurors to the people who had been involved in investigating the case. So,
Yeah.
but
I just hope we don't ever get to a point where somebody buys that bullshit from a teacher. Because I'm sorry, this goes right back to what I was saying before. There has to be a distinction between just an adult, a young person, and a mentor, an educator, an authority. This was a person who was in a position of authoritative power over the person she's accusing of victimizing her. She's not a victim by any stretch of the imagination and has no right to call herself one.
Well, one thing that what really bothers me is feminists, they will write gloating articles about how girls mature faster than boys. Girls mature faster. Boys' maturity is lagging. It lags, Oh, my goodness. At 15, girls are much more mature than 15-year-old boys, right? At the same time, this 33-year-old woman, wants to hold a 15-year-old boy responsible for all of the dynamics of their sexual relationship, right? Because she's not as mature as a 13-year-old girl, according to feminists. Because a 13-year-old girl is about the same level as a 15-year-old boy.
wow.
Right? And you would think that if feminists are earnest about this whole thing, that girls mature faster than boys, girls mature at a quicker rate, and they mature earlier than boys, they would think, wow, teenage boys are actually more vulnerable than teenage girls of the same age to making decisions based on the manipulation of adults and based on all of this other crap, right? They're more vulnerable to being manipulated. They're more vulnerable to being victimized, right? But, they just never see it that way. It's just the most amazing thing.
But I guess if we want to start getting on the list,
Karen,
who's been nodding? Who's been nice? Did everyone hear me?
Nodding nice.
No,
Yeah.
Karen is just sort of echoing a bit.
Yeah, she's
So when you stop speaking, Karen, mute.
When do I ever do that?
Yeah, well, when such an eventuality occurs, and prior to the end of the universe, because it's like probably a sign of the apocalypse.
a wild Karen.
Zombies. Are there zombies?
Yeah, there may be zombies, but
Okay.
let's let's do it. Let's do the naughty and nice list.
And if
Come
you
on,
guys have
let's
any,
get
if
some
you guys have
energy up here.
any, if you guys have any kind of any people to add to the list when we're done, any of your own nominations, do let me know, because I've probably missed some people. These were just the suggestions that I wrote a little bit, at least the most important of the sins committed. All right, the naughty list. On the top of the list, fuckhate.com, for its use of little girls to push an agenda with no basis in reality. Who wants to start?
I'm not as offended by their use of little girls as by their use of that one kind of chubby boy. Right?
I didn't see that one. I didn't see that one.
No, he's been in 2 of their videos so far.
Oh, I must have seen it.
He's the dude dressed in the stained wife beater with the poorly drawn on mustache.
Oh my gosh, I think I saw that one.
Who says, who opens and with the beer bottle in his hand, or the vodka or the whiskey bottle in his hand, saying, "What do you tell a woman with 2 black eyes? Nothing you haven't already told her twice," right? Yeah, no, it's that, because those girls, they're being coached in entitlement, and and they're being lied to, right? And they're being made to tell falsehoods, right? Being manipulated, but at least those falsehoods don't vilify them, right? But that one boy who's participated in 2 videos so far, he's being manipulated into essentially telling falsehoods that vilify himself. And that is really fucking sad.
Well, it's not anything that man, I just lost my train of thought. I can speak, and there goes the idea. No, it's basically nothing that hasn't been happening already with young boys being taken away from their fathers and being trained into thinking, the deadbeat dad and all these, horrible stereotypes about their own fathers. So I would think that that's more where the child is coming from. Like he doesn't realize that they're also saying that about him. They're saying that all guys are like that, but like subtleties like that might not be apparent to him. But I wouldn't really have a problem at all with this thing whatsoever if they only had anything at all remotely close to the truth in their statistics, or the things that they say that women, what they call statistics, which are not, because they're the same old, tired out ideas that don't have any basis in reality, no basis in scientific evidence. And that is the biggest issue, I think, with the whole fuck hate, I guess.
I gotta say, my one really big issue is that it's honestly, it's a sign of desperation that they did this. Nothing says desperation like repackaging the same old bullshit, guise of children's thoughts. Nothing screams there's no legitimacy to our claims. Like, we have to get kids to say it to make it more palatable to the general public. And that's really all I got to say about that.
I agree. I think the worst, and I haven't seen all of them, by the way, but the worst I saw was it was so exploitative, because they went and they said 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one of us is it going to be? You're like, oh my god! What the fuck?
Yeah, and then they all have the fake bruises too, right? After that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is it going to be? And then for the rest of the video, they're all battered, right?
It's total gorophilia, or whatever that thing is called, where you just fap to just the most atrocious things.
Yeah, and it is pretty atrocious, but we have to move on to the next atrocious item.
All right. Next person on the naughty list. I put these people together because it just makes sense. Kind of like a weird, morbid peanut butter and jelly. Anita Sarkeesian and Jonathan McIntosh, for their tweets about toxic masculinity moments after a school shooting story broke.
Go ahead, Karen. I can feel the rage. I can feel the rage from where...
Okay, give me a fucking break. Okay, masculinity. Okay, so the moment that this guy decided he was going to actually complain about his lot in life, right? He was going to actually say, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I'm suffering, I'm having a hard time, right? Okay, the moment that guy opens his mouth and says that, everybody, all of you fucking cunt social justice warriors, call him a piss baby, okay? Oh, quit whining, you piss baby. What about the men's? Oh, you fucking piss baby loser shitlord. You just hate women, right? Like, okay, honestly, if you will not hear men's pain, this is something Paul Elam has said multiple times. If you will not hear men's pain, you will hear their anger, okay? And most of the men out there know how to express their anger without being violent, right? I mean, and if they didn't, and Erin Pizzi has said this before multiple times, that she's absolutely shocked that men are not exploding everywhere, right? All over the place, right? Because of how the moment that they express that things aren't 100% right in their life, they get shut down. Right? And they get shut down by the very fucking same people who say, well, you're fucking privileged. You're privileged. How dare you fucking complain about your life is privileged?
Karen, your anger has somehow caused some sort of
the
tear
I know
in the
truth.
fabric
You
of space and time.
Censor Duck over to her house.
No, I would never censor Karen
Censor Duck is like
when
next
she's
to
raging
Karen
on
with
topic.
his little wing over Karen's microphone. I know what you did.
No,
Okay,
your
this is
imputations
not,
of
but this
malice
is not,
upon my person
masculinity. This is not masculinity. This is not maleness committing these acts. This is the rest of society, right, abandoning men.
Yeah.
And you know what's really sick about it is this comes besides the sickness of trying to make masculinity something deviant and evil on its own. Here we have the same people who would take that same set of circumstances and were a woman to turn around and kill, say, her significant other in a room full of people because of the same type of circumstances, what would they attribute it to? Battered women's syndrome. Battered woman syndrome, the existence or the name, battered woman syndrome, the syndrome itself is basically defined as a woman's violent response to that same type of long-term abuse. So apparently it's okay when women do it, but when a guy gets pushed into a situation where the only way left for him to express himself, whereas women who are given the battered woman syndrome excuse actually have out after out after out that is funded by government at the federal level. Oh, he's obviously just a symptom of society's problems with masculinity. And it's absolutely disgusting. It's no better sign of misandry in the feminist movement and among social justice warriors than for them to make this claim. But the reality is that Anita Sarkeesian's act of jumping on this honestly had nothing to do with her belief in her ideology. And the reason I say that is because moments after she posted that, she also posted a link to her Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, but this was all about Anita.
What
it
a
didn't
whore.
have anything to do with masculinity or caring about those kids getting shot or even trying to fix some ill in society that nothing even abstract. It was flat out damseling for dollars using somebody else's pain that was just happened to be available for her to exploit.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dana. Take it.
Some Schadenfreude whoring on Anita's part. But it's kind of a two-part point, I guess. On one hand, we have her basically saying that psychopathy is masculinity because just because it was a male who committed. It's like saying, okay, hey, guess what? O.J. Simpson was a golfer, therefore all golfers are serial murderers because O.J. was. So, I mean, that's basically what she's doing with the penis thing. One person who was severely ill mentally, that has nothing to do with them having a penis or a vagina. It doesn't matter. The severely mentally ill person went on a rampage, but Anita is equating that with masculinity, and that implicit that thing that she implies is particularly toxic, to use her own words, because you kind of don't even think about that that's what you're buying into if you even remotely begin to agree with this. When you recall, oh yes, so many shootings were done by men. Let me think about it. No, it has nothing to do with that. Partially because the media does not, of course, bring attention to as many female murders either, which of course do happen as well, but doesn't really sell that many views because it against the status quo of feminism. And the other point it goes into my second point, which is the battered women syndrome type stuff, where women are encouraged to mutilate men's cars and to kill them, like Dixie Chicks, Goodbye Earl, and the other one, Carrie Underwood with the car keying and all that. That's standard. And of course, if you look at Katy Perry's videos, Dark Horse, I think it was, where she like murders men, a bunch of other popular, Lady Gaga, that's right, she does some, and Rihanna, all of them. And nobody really talks about the fact that it's okay for us to talk about killing and damaging men, but do you have a single song about that when the genders are reversed? I can't really think of one. And I mean, I'll give you time to come up with one. You won't, because there's...
Jimi Hendrix, Hey Joe.
We have one. Damn,
Hey
that ruins my point.
Oh,
but...
wait.
Actually, though, Hey Joe isn't...
what's his name? Dude from...
wait, all right. We gotta go to the next item.
Actually...
Neil Young. Neil Young.
I was going to say, Hey Joe doesn't treat it as automatically okay.
Yeah,
if you
no,
listen to the tone of the song, it's quite obvious that he's singing about it as a problem, whereas these women are celebrating it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. But let us move on to the next item.
Okay.
Rachel.
All right.
Rachel.
Right.
Rachel.
Okay. What?
Boop.
Okay. I would go on to the next person on our list is Rebecca Watson for her promotion of doxing. Good for you, Rebecca. Thanks for that, because that's really the grown-up thing to do, to say it's totally fine for people to be doxed as long as they're the people you think are guilty. It's great.
Well, but they're the bad people. They're the bad people.
It's okay to torture them if they might be guilty.
Yeah, so I don't know what your problem is, Rachel. Like, why are you being such a fucking killjoy? Jesus.
I don't know. Maybe
That's not Jesus.
But I don't really have much else to say about that. I mean, there's tons of things. Oh, wait, I forgot about the comment. I think it was this year that she made the comment where she said that if a male atheist goes too long without calling a woman a cunt, his balls will shrivel up inside him and form something that some like to call a mangina.
Okay.
Thanks for that one.
the timing of that, the time and place of that joke, okay, was very, very poorly chosen. She chose to open a video with that. It was a video where she was asking for donations for a blood disease charity. Okay. Okay. So might not have been the best venue for making that joke, but for somebody who has been so consistently unfunny, okay, so unbelievably consistently unfunny through the entire course of her career, that joke and the kind of deadpan, pasty-faced, beige delivery that she gave of it, it made me giggle. It actually, I'm sorry, I giggled. I found it funny. I found it amusing. It was clever. Right? His balls will tuck up inside of him, forming something people call a mangina. Right? Okay. It was her one moment of glory in an otherwise completely bogus career. Right? She made a joke that actually made me giggle.
Yeah, but that's.
You're like
okay. Karen, mute, echo.
That's the reason why I made that one joke at the end of my one post about her on the blog, where the joke ends in her turning into a giant cunt, sprouting wings, and just sort of flapping away with the labia, and then like 5 years later she becomes president of the United States.
Okay, but we got to move on to the next item. I'm totally being a cunt tonight, but we have to.
Okay, Jessica Valenti, and you know why. you could feel it. It's in the air. The tension. You can cut it with a knife. Mostly for her male tear sweater and her insufferable clickbait articles, or at least just the ones this year. There's a ton of them. They just pile up into this one big pile of
Feeling
compost.
Jessica Valenti is rape.
But I think this is more of a metaphorical feeling. So I guess this is metaphorical rape.
Oh, that's the worst kind.
Marcotte, and I'm feeling Jessica Valenti.
Metaphorically.
Oh, yeah.
If we're going to get into metaphorical rape, we might as well go into the fact that basically Santa is at this point metaphorical rape. I mean, he comes into your house, without your consent.
Okay.
And just leaves things behind.
I just got to tell you guys. I got to share an anecdote because I had this kid that was, his mom and him were living in my house for a while. My best friend and her child. He was like a precocious 4-year-old at the time. And he was the kind of kid, his mom was pregnant at the time, and he went up to some stranger in the grocery store. He's like, my mom's going to have a baby. Guess what? She has this huge hole in her vagina, and her huge hole by her bum, and the baby's going to come out of there. And the woman looks at him like he's just like, what? And then he's like, no, it's true, as if she didn't believe that part, right? Rather than, okay. But right around Christmas, he says to his mom, kind of thinking Santa's a pervert, right? Because
Karen, we can't hear you.
Karen, you're really muffled. Okay, I think we're going to have to do something with your sound, and the thing that we're going to have to do is you're going to have to actually sit somewhere and stop running around with your laptop, I think.
I'm not running around. I'm sitting here.
Well, you're moving your laptop.
I'm not.
Anyhow. Okay, keep to a certain distance from your microphone and don't get muffled somehow.
It's right on my lap.
All right.
He asked his mom what a pervert was. His mom told him a pervert is a guy who will try to get you to come over to his house, and he'll offer you candy and he'll offer you presents, and then he'll try and touch your genitals and put bad things in your bum. Right? Okay, because she was always very honest with him. Right? And so he tells her, Mom, I'm kind of thinking Santa's a pervert. And she says, how come? And he says, well, he tries to convince you to sit on his lap by offering you presents, and then he comes into your house and he's always watching you, right? And so I'm thinking he's a pervert. So I think that maybe the whole thing with feminists thinking sort of the whole Santa thing is like sort of perverted and stuff like that, or the hurry down the chimney tonight thing is perverted and nasty and rapey. Okay. Maybe it's because they have the intellect and the emotional maturity of a 4-year-old.
This is true.
Karen, mute.
Never.
I'm seriously wondering when that's going to come out, when someone eventually is going to come to, when one feminist is eventually going to come to the conclusion that Santa is an agent of patriarchal oppression.
It's already happened. You know it, dude. But let's move on to the next item, because...
All right. Lacey Green.
Oh. I actually went quite a while before I ever watched a video of hers.
Oh, God. Her videos make me want to stab myself in the face with a fork.
I willingly watch it.
You've never watched a video of hers, Karen?
Oh, no, I have. And that's why I will go quite a while before I ever willingly watch another one.
It makes me feel really good, you guys, because I exposed myself to Lacey Green a few years ago. That sounded wrong. I went on YouTube and I saw one of her videos, and she said some things that I found personally questionable and that conflicted with my, neuroscience studies as I was in college at the time. And I was just like, oh, I like her sex positivism, but she's kind of dumb and just no. And I went away and I thought I was the only one who didn't like her. So high fives all around that.
Well, I don't actually think she's sex positive. I think she's actually.
Well, she maybe she was back, 4 years ago.
No.
She was a Mormon 4 years ago, wasn't she?
But
maybe I just saw the best in everything.
No, she's positive about female sexuality, right? Everything is permissible with female sexuality. She's completely negative about male sexuality. Male sexuality must be kept on a leash.
Well, I do have a specific sin of hers that that she's on the list for. It's basically, first off, she destroyed Sam Pepper's career instead of calling the police when she suspected that he was guilty of a crime. Because first off, okay, there was that prank where he touched women's behinds with something that wasn't his hand, but made them think it was his hand. Okay, that's debatable. That's debatable. But then what happened after that is after she spoke out saying that she felt that his behavior was assault, after she said that, some people came forward and saying that he had been, incorrect or assaulted them or something like that.
Yeah.
And she went on
allegations
to
of rapes and of underage situations at VidCons, and just she made it seem like it was tons of emails that she received.
And what happened was this. Instead of saying, okay, this is a crime, you need to take this to police, which she ended up going into this long spiel about how it'll probably never see court, and how it, going through all this stuff and reporting it makes the person re-victimized. I don't really care. I'm sorry. But if someone has committed a crime, it is your duty to make sure that other people are not victimized by this person. If they are a danger to people, you have to call the police and bite the bullet. Okay?
Yeah, it's responsibility. I mean, there has to be some level of social responsibility placed on women. Like that when you are victimized and you not only don't report, but you don't get a rape kit done, and then you wait 6 months, and then you make your allegations in the press, right? And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Go report it to police, because, if you don't preserve the evidence, if you do not initiate a police complaint, right, then he's just walking around victimizing other women. Like, what the fuck where's the sisterhood now?
Yeah.
It's every woman for herself out there, because I'm not capable of putting society's interests above my own right now.
Well, society's interests and women's interests are identical or something. But
but it's not. It's not, because if it was,
no, that's their thought process. I'm not asserting this is an actual truth, but there was something I wanted to bring up. What about their responsibility to their male sexual partner? I mean, at some point, don't women have a responsibility to clearly inform their sexual partners of the sexual acts that they're engaging with if their sexual partners do not have full knowledge of that? I mean, what if, to use a crazy example, what if there was like a partial paralysis fetish in which women would partially paralyze their lower half, and so they couldn't feel it. And the guy, instead, she thinks that she's having vaginal sex, but he's decided to have sex with her ass, with anal sex, and he doesn't inform her. Doesn't he have like an obligation? Feminists would consider that rape, because he has full knowledge of what's going on, and he hasn't informed her clearly. So if women are in the situation of being the only ones to know when an act of sex turns into an act of rape, aren't they obligated to inform their partner that the sex act has changed? This is my question.
You would basically think that, like just the, once you actually explicitly state, okay, now you don't have my consent, right? That's when mens rea kicks in, right? The guy either stops or he continues. And if he continues, he's continuing knowing that you're not consenting, right? But unless you actually say that, I mean, you can't just withdraw consent in your head. This isn't a fucking romance novel where it's perfectly fine for a man to shove a woman against a wall and take her fiercely, and she's resisting the whole time outwardly, but just before the point of penetration, seconds before, she relents in the privacy of her own mind, right? And she consents within the privacy of her own thoughts, which is what happens in a lot of romance novels, and so she's definitely consenting, but he has no idea she's consenting. So you literally
have two more
romance novels. You literally have romance novels where the woman is not a rapist,
or an Ayn Rand book,
but the man is still a rapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have two more final things. Okay, she also did a video about toxic masculinity, which she entitled About Masculinity, but for the most part, she just described nothing but stereotypes about men and stereotypes about masculinity instead of explaining, oh, by the way, this is a spectrum and there's a lot of different guys who have, expressed their masculinity in different ways and they express themselves differently, and there isn't necessarily the standard where you have to express yourself in this way. That doesn't necessarily exist for every man. Instead of that, she said that this is something, basically described it, what feminists describe as toxic masculinity, but without saying toxic masculinity. And it's really, really fucked up. It gets pretty bad. Also, guess what? She is now doing a YouTube show for MTV. Really. It's called Braless. So now everybody gets to watch her slowly and surely, catch fire and burn into nothingness in real time. Because really, now everybody's going to see this stupidity in real time. And she'll be a public figure now.
And the whole point of it is like she says the most fucked up things, but she's so neotenous that nobody really thinks about what she's saying. They just think she's cute.
And she looks
adorable.
She's good at packaging it into something that is just flashy enough to hold people's attention and just rapid fire enough in its presentation that people don't have time to think about each point she states before she moves on to the next one. It's very for brainwashing young people.
Yeah, but the reality is,
does that mean she's gonna show her titties? Is that what we're talking about? She's eventually gonna spiral into being on the...
We already see most of them. I mean, we're usually getting a good, generous view of her cleavage in, like, every video, and yet she's talking about...
The other YouTube strategy.
Don't objectify me, you guys!
Speaking of which, I can't wait to make a video about that, but...
Here we go. Steele in chat pointed it out. It's Green Gallop. It's like the Gish Gallop, but more stupid.
Oh, gosh. She's like a squeaky toy. Yeah. It's like...
Oh.
It's like, don't objectify me! Don't do things! I'm like, I'm cute! Look at my boobs!
Yeah.
Well, nailed it.
For everybody.
Well, I think the only mystery is really, the shape and color of her nipples at this point. But yeah, what was I gonna say? You know what? I just completely lost my brain thinking about Lacey Green.
Lacey
I guess
Green's boobs.
It's the green effect.
It's the green effect.
See, the brainwashing, it's back around.
Well, what I was going to say is that I don't think... I mean, the reality is these people don't change anything. They just support the status quo. Everybody likes... Like, she could be possibly the combination of a kitten and boobs. So that would be Lacey Green. So I don't know how many more instinctive triggers that she could hit.
I'm so triggered by Lacey Green.
Nickname for her.
She's just
Squeaky Voice McJiggles.
Lacey Green PTSD.
Squeaky McJiggles. There we go. Squeaky McJiggles.
You're adorable, but the things you say are horrible.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God!
Next on our list. Shall we move on? Next on our list.
Yes, Rachel, just do it. Do it.
All right, Hollaback. For their bizarre belief that even minor comments to women on the street like "good morning" and "smile" are an act of patriarchal oppression, and for their misleading 10 hours of harassment video, most of which took place in Harlem, basically the bad part of New York City. So...
Rachel, how can you talk to us like that? My God, don't you realize that's harassment?
Yeah, what did she do?
Guys,
I'm mean.
Did you just fucking...
You know you like it. You're practically asking for it, Hannah.
I'm sure. And the next thing you're going to talk about is how I'm dressed.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, we don't really. We're on the radio.
But shirt was just, begging.
I can't fucking believe you said good morning to me this morning, Allison.
Oh, did I?
You did. That was it. It popped up on Skype. Good morning. Like, fuck you.
Harassing bitch.
Fuck you and your harassment, bitch. You and your censor duck, and don't blame it on him, because he's going to get his the moment I see him.
Okay.
How did censor duck? He's got to go into witness protection program.
Wasn't there something about Hollaback profiting from the whole thing somehow? There was some recent news about
there was?
some more developments.
That I don't know
I could have
about.
sworn there was, but
if there is, that would be great to know.
Let me do some research.
Okay, I think this particular item has descended into craziness. So let's move on.
Basically, there's one woman who was mentioned, but I didn't really find as much about her. But basically, every woman who is involved in the mindless bullying of a scientist for wearing a shirt covered in sexy women, yeah, you're getting coal. May Santa have mercy on your soul. Sorry. May Santa have mercy on you. Nothing for you.
You mistake them for having souls.
No soup for you.
It's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad statement of feminism that here you have all of these women whining about women in tech not being taken seriously, and about the condescension of treating women like they're only obsessed with clothing and fashion and so on. When a woman runs for office, for instance, in politics, and anybody comments about her clothing, oh well, they're just doing that because she's a woman. First thing they do when this guy lands a probe on a comet is talk about his clothes, because women are not fashion obsessed or anything, and clothing is not all that important to women. But the first thing they're going to do is talk about his shirt.
Well, what they're doing is actually it's actually even more sinister. They're presenting this shirt as a false obstacle, and inviting younger girls who are just forming their identities to consider this to be a legitimate obstacle to doing whatever they want to do with their life. They are actually teaching young girls to view themselves as acted upon by an inanimate object, a shirt, and that this is a legitimate obstacle to pursuing a career in a branch of I guess human knowledge that is actually very, very difficult. You really need every single scrap of your ability to see yourself in terms of what you do and not what's done to you. And they're saying that girls are reduced to objects that are acted upon by shirts. And in my opinion, I know that Karen probably has a different point of view, but I think part of the reason why there's such a differential in sexes in STEM fields in Western cultures as compared to the Middle East and Asian cultures and even African cultures, where the gap between men and women is smaller or even favors women in STEM, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is because they are not feminist. They haven't inoculated their daughters as completely in this victim fetish in which they view themselves almost entirely as beings that are acted upon, that cannot take any action or take any responsibility for their actions.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree with you at one bit about that. I mean, like you may have a situation where the more choice people have and the less pressure they have financially to choose something that they maybe don't want to do but figure is the best thing financially, the best way to get by, right? So the more people are able to choose things that they're interested in, you do have a little bit more segregation in choice of career, right? So you have a little bit bigger segregation as far as STEM in a place like Sweden than in a place like China, right? But at the same time, you also, I mean, like, it really is like the situation where feminists are constantly going on about how, oh, it's just so difficult to report a rape to police, and oh my God, and once you report it, you're just going to be re-victimized, and the police won't believe you, and you're not going to get justice anyway because only 3% of rapists ever spend a day in jail, and like, I wouldn't fucking report if I believed that, right? I wouldn't, and so why would a woman go into STEM when she's got all these other women saying, oh, and it's just this horrible atmosphere of misogyny, and like, they're just going to try and keep you out, and they're just going to try and keep you down, and they're going to make you feel like you're incompetent just because you're a woman, blah, 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 right? Like, if I was hearing that message constantly, even if I was interested in STEM, right, which women tend to be a little bit less interested in that kind of stuff, right? So they're taking something that's already less common among women than men, and then they're doing everything in their power to discourage women from acting on that interest.
Well, it just goes to show that women are simply not equal to men. If girls can't get past that minor bullshit, then there's really no point. at this point in trying to encourage girls to get into STEM. And Tubby from chat pointed this out, and he pointed it out really well. He says, what is annoying is they don't consider the beatings that male nerds get to count as discouragement, yet a shirt supposedly discourages women. And, even women saying it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, you're going to get discriminated against. None of that compares to what a nerd goes through beginning in elementary school. Boys who are nerds in elementary school face after-school beatings. They face beatings in the bathroom. Other boys pick them up, turn them upside down, shove their heads in the toilet, and flush, and there's usually stuff in there. They get treated like shit by other boys and by girls. You can't ask a girl out if you're a nerd. You ask a girl out if you're a nerd, you're a creep. You get spit on. I have seen girls spit on guys for asking them out because they don't dress right, they don't look right, they wear a pocket protector, they got pimples, whatever. And yet they still go into those professions. They still stick with computer science, they still stick with biology, they still stick with the things that they're passionate about because they're tough enough that they do not let other people's opinions or other people's treatment of them or the fact that it's unpopular or the fact that other people aren't interested in it prevent them from pursuing their passions. And society eats little boys, and they still come out of it and find their way to places like Silicon Valley.
Or landing on a fucking comet.
And landing on a comet. Little girls just need to man up. Just a little bit. We need to teach girls to man up a bit.
Yeah, I want to add to what Hannah's saying. I think it's not just that, it's not in spite. I think it's partly because you toughen up, because you learn that you can overcome obstacles and that you can persevere in the face of adversity. And the reality is that, yes, it's horrible, the bullying that boys go through. And I'm going to do, but what about the women's? The reality is that when you don't allow girls to struggle, you don't allow girls to have to make an effort to face obstacles. If you present a fucking shirt as a legitimate obstacle to a girl, you essentially you don't allow them to succeed in those ways. You just don't give them the tools required to succeed in STEM. You're taking those tools out of their tool chest and throwing them away when you don't give girls consequences to the same degree as you give boys. When girls don't face the same kind of adversity as boys, they're just not going to achieve as much because they don't have to and they don't know how. And fine, if you want to coddle your daughters, if you want them to be cute little squeaky kitten toys, fine, do that. But accept the result of that.
That'll be inherent weakness because of that.
Yeah, except that they will never be an equal number of, or even marginally closer number of women and men in STEM or as CEOs or in politics. Because if you coddle your girls and you deny them their consequences, they become weak and ineffectual, and incidentally, subconsciously, people will not respect them. And yeah, that's, go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, 3 quick things. I'll see if I can make them quick. The first one is I have a shout out from Florida Catfish who pointed out something else that's significant to me because my brother went through this. He says, also, Hannah, life for boys / guys who stuck up for and tried to prevent that type of bullying was also a living hell. And I saw that with my brother. Didn't just have to be tough enough to defend himself. He had to be tough enough to stand up and defend himself and his friends when he would stand up for other boys that were smaller than him that were getting bullied. And there were kids that would hunt him down simply because he had stood up against bullies like that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, speaks to what Allison was talking about. One of the things that has to stop, it simply has to stop. We have to stop telling girls that when they are bullied, it happens because they're girls. Because it's bullshit. Making them feel targeted when they're not. They're simply being treated the same as the boys. Boys get bullied exactly the same and also worse. Because it's more acceptable to bully boys. And both sexes can get away with bullying boys, where only girls can really get away with bullying girls. When boys do it, and girls draw attention to the fact that boys are doing it, they get busted for it, and they get busted hard. I forgot what the third thing was.
Okay, well, while you remember, I'm just going to add to that. When you put it in those terms, when you teach girls that they're being targeted because they're girls, you're actually molding them into victim, essentially like a substrate on which you can write stories of victimhood. You're denying their personhood, and you are forcing them to view themselves as acted upon instead of actors in their own lives. And as you know, and I'm not going to deny the bullying and the physical brutality of what we do to boys, but what we do to girls psychologically is total fucking shit. Go ahead, Cherry.
I very much agree with that, in the sense that it completely derails the concept of personal flaws as a human being, that you might have some sort of, or maybe there's a misunderstanding or inconsistency in the language or the communications with the people around you. There's something that you're being targeted for. And the fact that we just go straight for it's because they're a woman, bypasses any kind of self-examination or introspection or any kind of character building or trying to figure out why maybe something like that is happening. So women are completely unprepared for the real world. They're constantly cocooned and cuddled, emotionally bubble boy syndromed, and then sent out into the real world. And no wonder we have these feminists that just stomp their feet like, 5-year-olds and throw tantrums, because that's all they've ever been is 5-year-olds. They never progressed past that point because nobody ever allowed them to. They kept them emotionally in that cocoon.
I remember what my third thing was, real quick here.
Go for it.
We talked about, teaching girls by teaching them that they're targeted when they're bullied and everything, teaching them not to tough out being bullied, and how society and parents coddle their girls and teach them to be, little squeaky toys and all that. There's one area where it's not done. And that is, I've seen this simply because I've had family members involved in beauty pageants. And those girls are taught to take some shit from other people. They're taught to accept criticism they don't even deserve it in some instances, and make changes that they shouldn't even have to make in order to get where they want to get, which is what men are subjected to every day. And if we get, would tone it down a little on men to teach them to accept criticism they do deserve, but not take criticism they don't deserve, and tone it up a little on women to teach them that they do deserve some criticism and need to take it and learn from it, then maybe we would get somewhere in trying to even out some of the professions that there's a discrepancy in. But until girls in science professions learn to take what girls in beauty professions have to take all the time, they're not going to get anywhere.
Well, until girls are held to the same standard as boys. I mean, this is really the thing. My video today, right? He's like, I will never be blah, blah, have to prove my competency. I won't have to prove blah, 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 my blah, blah, blah as a man, right? And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to prove it to be allowed in the space, but if you go in the space and you don't demonstrate it, well, faggot, I had fun fucking your sister, right? That's what you're going to get.
That was so beautiful. There's amazing.
Assumption of
I love that video.
Competence, yes. And that assumption, if it's not lived up to, yeah, you're out, right? Whereas with women in a male-dominated space, and I've said this when I go to Home Depot, the moment that I ask one of these experts for advice on a toilet flange or whatever, right? The moment that he realizes that I actually know what I'm talking about, I'm not an expert, not a professional, but I am a knowledgeable layperson about installing toilets or about doing home improvements, right? And he can tell that I know and you get extra cookies for that as a woman. You get extra respect. Right?
Yeah, but the lower bar itself.
I don't have to prove that I'm better than that expert who was hired at Home Depot because he's semi-retired and he was a professional tradesman, right? I don't have to prove that I'm better than him. I just have to prove that I'm semi-competent, and then I get respect, right? As a woman. That's not what men deal with every day. What men deal with every day is if you aren't up to this rigid standard, then you're out. And also, your mother's a good lay.
Yeah, they have to deal with emotional bullying.
They do.
And yeah, you're right. Women are held to a lower standard of competence, but I think that is also problematic for women too.
Of course it is, but at the same time.
Okay, Ranzerker. We must move on and decimate another town.
Okay.
Okay.
Live to decimate
how do
another
you guys
town
feel
another
about
day.
this? What if I just read the rest of the naughty list and then you guys choose what you want to do?
Oh.
Yeah, I think that we're going to.
Or would that be chaos?
That would.
Okay.
No, I don't think it would be. Just go ahead and do that.
Okay. So
Great, whatever.
Jordy Tate for his rant on how pro-Gamergate people should be thrown into gas chambers, including the feminists and people of color who support the cause. Then there's also Taylor Swift for her depiction of domestic violence in her video Blank Space. And finally, Lena Dunham for the ridiculous drama coming out of her memoirs and her insane reaction to any and all criticism of it. And the anti-MRA skit. SNL skit that she wrote.
Oh, that was her?
I haven't seen that.
Yes,
I need
yes,
to see
that was on her show. Yes, that was her.
That was terribly unfunny.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
God,
I
it
don't
was
need to
so fucking sad.
Then I do need
That
to see
SNL
it.
skit. I just sat there. I couldn't even be mad. I just felt bad for her because
It was
It was
pretty
embarrassing.
It was.
It was so unfunny.
It just it wasn't funny. It didn't make any sense. I mean, even more so than Saturday Night Live usually does. Because a live
If there was a
comic
grain
show.
of truth, there could have been something funny, but there was no grain of truth there. They were trying to make us seem to be, pro-life by default.
What was funny was when we were at the ICMI, and Allison was bringing the big box of honey badger goodies to one of the guys who had donated $500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Here you go, 40-pound box of rape." Okay, that's funny. Okay, that's funny. It's just beautiful because rape is a crop grown in the province where she lives, and I know that, and so I found it funny because it's an inside joke. 40-pound box of rape, right? Okay,
And honey.
yeah, and
Don't open it.
So it's just but we lambasted ourselves better than that Saturday Night Live skit. We make fun of ourselves better than they did.
Yeah.
I got to point out one thing because among, pretty much every political group there is out there, this distinction will be important to at least some people. They were not making us out to be pro-life. They were making us out to be anti-abortion. And it may seem like a small difference, but it is actually a very significant difference. And that's all I got to say about that.
No, I understand what you're saying.
It's making us anti, women's rights.
Well, but
Well, yes, but I mean, you said pro-life, and I wanted to point that out because it's not the same thing.
okay, I'm going to actually step in and say what they caricatured. Well, first of all, it was some sort of
It's really bizarre.
weird conservative, ultra conservative, I don't know, 15th century man, a medieval, I don't know, I don't even know where they're getting from.
He medieval, but it was that he was this loser who got a woman who was who had no idea what he was doing and was completely unaware.
Well, she was a Latina.
Yeah.
So of course she needed a white women to put her right because she was too stupid to understand it herself.
Yes. Too stupid, passionate, and
passionate.
But then he's a misogynist, right?
And just gives his car to her.
And yeah, he's like, oh, I'll walk. You can have the car. What?
Yeah, that's the problem. One of the problems with that sketch was that he ended up being the most sympathetic because he was like, yeah, okay, you feel this way about me. I will leave, and no, I'll even give you the car. And they came across as harpies.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's because I was sympathetic to the. I was
no,
not sympathetic to any of his points.
No, it's because they were
like
harpies.
Herpes. They really were. It was
wasn't because
just really sad. I'm like, wow.
It wasn't because I was sympathetic to his point of view, because I recognized none of my point of view or most men's rights activists' point of view in what he said, or a gender egalitarian point of view in what he actually, or non-feminist or anti, in what he actually said. I don't recognize that. I mean, most anti and non-feminists don't have a problem with equality, like feminists try to assert. We are actually judging feminism based on equality, on its track record in achieving equality. And what's annoying about feminists is, of course, they want to say that they're incapable of taking any criticism. So even if you say, well, yeah, I'm judging you based on whether or not you achieve equality, they'll say, oh, you're not for equality. Well, yes, I am. That's why I'm holding you to that standard.
Well,
and you're failing.
Is that they think that it's okay for them to just say something and people should believe it, right? Like Zerlina Maxwell, even if Jackie lied, we should still automatically believe rape victims, right? Or women who claim to have been raped. We should still automatically believe them. And it's like, basically it really boils down to Janice Fiamengo's speech at Kennesaw, where she said that the type of feminism that she was opposing in that particular speech was the type of feminism that basically says that women's voices must be believed, right? That when feminists say they are for equality, you have to believe them. It doesn't matter how they act. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what changes they bring about. It doesn't matter who they harm. They say they're about equality, and that's that. End of story, period.
That kind of gets us right into the I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Is it Geordie Tate or Gordy Tate?
Geordie Tate.
Geordie Tate and his rant on pro-Gamergate people being thrown into the gas chambers, including the feminists and people of color who support the cause. Feminists and other social justice warriors are the same on this, in that they say they support the voices of the people that they claim to promote, but they only do if those people say the things that they want them to say. The minute that you step out of line, the minute you go off the reservation, you get smacked down as hard as they can smack you down. And if they can't smack you down, they rant and rave about not having the capability to smack you down and how you should be smacked down, right down to sounding exactly like Nazis. They write it themselves. I mean, it goes beyond Godwin's law. They've become Godwin's law. They've turned themselves up into the living embodiment, and it's completely sad. And it goes right back to it's from their comedy, which turned out to be a badly drawn caricature of their badly conceived straw man, and nothing more. Rather than being comedy, it turned out to be a sneak peek into the feminist mind. To here we have that this person ranting about how we should be killed for saying things that he didn't want to hear. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and it's a self-righteous attitude. I think it was Christ that said, the self-righteous man, the sinner gets into heaven before the self-righteous man. I would agree with that. It's because when you're self-righteous, you can justify anything to yourself. And
vandalizing some dude's dorm room.
Yeah, or calling for people to be shoved into ovens because they disagree with you. But in terms of the equality thing, feminists not just want to say that they are for equality, they want to define it. And I find it hilarious that they're the only, because they're government funded, so they're basically, you could call them the utility for equality, perhaps the utility company. Could you imagine if any other utility, like road repair, and you have this huge frickin' pothole And when you say to road repair, well, there's this huge pothole that you haven't repaired. And then they say to you, well, we define what road repair is. Are you pro pothole by pointing it out that this pothole is... By pointing out this pothole, you are pro pothole. The fact that we haven't repaired it, you are pro pothole. And you don't get to judge us. And they come out with that incredible amount of silly string. By pointing out how feminism has failed to promote equality, you are anti-equality. It's lovely almost. It's like a kaleidoscope of nonsense.
Yeah. The honorable mention is the yes means yes law, but I would say probably the people who passed the law, everybody who's involved with passing the yes means yes law in California. Yeah. I would say that. Wait.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I would agree. But I do have two people that I want to add to your list.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina Rubin Erdely, who
Okay.
happens to be the wife of a district attorney, I believe. And she's politically connected, and she wrote that travesty of a Rolling Stone gothic rape novel.
Oh, God.
Okay.
That one.
Without checking any of her sources. And then when she started to get called on it and realized that she was in hot water, well, she's just kind of sunk out of public view, and she hasn't really been answering phone calls, right?
I'm also getting honorable mention Emma Watson for he for she.
Emma Watson.
I agree.
Yeah, but she's sort of like, I don't think she's smart enough to realize that what she's doing. Like, I think she
nominating
honestly...
Kermit the Frog for an award for Sesame Street.
Yeah,
Oh, God, yeah.
And then Zerlina Maxwell. Zerlina Maxwell, for her quickly changed headline. It was originally posted as, we should automatically believe women who claim rape, or something like that. Women who claim to have been raped should be automatically believed. That was automatically was the key word. And
that woman has blood on her hands.
And then when she was called on it, they changed it to should generally be believed, right? But yeah, stating that even if Jackie lied in that Rolling Stone article, even if the entire thing was a hoax, we should still automatically believe women who claim they've been raped.
Yeah.
Right?
I have one final thought.
It's because what's going to happen to the guy? He's going to lose some Facebook friends. So what?
Yeah, I have one final thought on Taylor Swift, and I've really wanted to tackle her before, because most people have said, "Oh, Taylor Swift, she's just, she's not that bad." But I've been following her since the beginning, and she's written some pretty misandrous shit in the past, where it's usually to do with, whenever something bad is in a relationship, it's a guy's fault. And people are saying, oh, but her music is changing now. And they're saying, oh, well, the recent video, Blank Space or whatever, is just a commentary on the way people think she is. I gotta say, it's more in line with the way she's portrayed herself in her music, and in songs like You're Just Another Picture to Burn and stuff like that, where she just lots of anger and hatred, vitriol hurled at guys who just turned out to not be her happily ever after, who didn't fit her cookie cutter image of what needed to be her perfect man. It's so fucking ridiculous. And so when people say, oh, well, she's changing and she's becoming more independent, I think that's a load of horseshit. I think that the domestic violence and the craziness and stuff like that was displayed was over the top, of course. But you don't make a video like that being perfectly knowledgeable of what you're doing. This is, it's ridiculous. But yeah. I mean, I can go on to the nice list, and maybe we can just be a lot
Let's do
more
some
brief.
cheeriness.
Yay! And so first, here's my honor. Here's
We need some jingle music.
Yes, we do.
Oh, I don't have any.
The nice list. I'm gonna, and there are a lot of people who are nice this year, and you guys can nominate whoever you like. But here's just an amalgam of stuff. Special mention, Sage Gerard for his work with Kasem and keeping his cool despite false police reports and other drama erupting around him. The Kasem conference was amazing. He had to deal with most of that stuff by himself. pulling a lot of that workload and also building the wonderful website that we're using at honeybadgerbrigade.com. So, good job, Sage. You kicked a lot of ass. Fucking love you.
Took some names, yep.
Next on the list is Christina Hoff Sommers for standing up to the insane ravings of anti-Gamergate supporters and being based as always. Gemma Morgan.
Based mom!
Yeah! Gemma Morgan for showing courage in adversity and not faltering when the stakes were high. We love you, Gemma. Keep being awesome. Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg for her comments on domestic violence and never backpedaling. Yeah, she's fucking awesome. She has nothing to lose. She knows she's got some position. And
she's a bamf.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Camille Paglia?
Alia.
Yeah, for speaking truth in publications like Time Magazine and giving no fucks when other feminists threw a fit.
And also being crazy as a sewer rat.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Seriously crazy.
Yes.
I love her for that. She's not mean-spiritedly crazy. She's gloriously crazy.
Yep. The fine young capitalist for setting out to get women in tech and not giving up after being terrorized by social justice warriors.
And Dogs by Zoe Quinn.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, her and her minions, basically. Attacked the fine young capitalists. And, you know, they kept on going. They said, we're going to finish this project. And they fucking did. So, props to you guys.
Otherwise, terrorists win. Thank you, guys.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali for speaking against the stupidity of feminists involved in Shirtstorm. Fucking A.
I'd like to actually add
beautiful.
I'd like to add that she has consistently spoken out against both female and male genital mutilation through her entire public career. And I just want to give her kudos for seeing that there isn't really that much difference between the two, and for standing up for male human rights. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I think it was awesome when she made her statement. One of the things that she mentioned was how when it comes to real oppression, you're dealing with things like opposition from people to not wanting girls to go to school and things like that. That's, you know, that's the real fucked up kind of oppression and shit that we should be combating, and how complaining and feeling like something like a shirt is holding women back is completely ludicrous. She seems to take a lot of issues with Western feminism.
Well, she didn't grow up the coddled child of a multi-millionaire.
No, she grew up in Somalia.
Yeah. She ran away when she was going to be forcibly married to somebody she didn't want to be married to.
Yep.
So.
And she says that her father and not her mother was the person who said that they wanted to keep her in school. That her mother thought that she was going to rebel, and so she wanted to pull her from school, and her father wasn't having it. So that's, you know, that says something.
Kudos to her dad too.
Yeah. Also, Vivian James for bringing everyone together, and also Total Biscuit for speaking out against corruption in the gaming industry and being awesome. We love you, cynical Brit. Fucking A, keep doing what you're doing. Any other honorable mentions? You probably got a ton. Who can we think of who was...
For me personally,
well,
Karen Strawn is an honorable mention.
Yes.
That's how I got involved into this whole thing is through her, I think, Daniel Pacman interview. I was like, holy shit, there's another outspoken feminist. Oh my God, this is amazing. So I definitely vote for that.
Gateway drug to the men's rights movement.
And you realize, she's not a feminist at all.
No, I'm really not. But I thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's sweet.
Very well.
So
Got a couple
who
from
else
the chat.
Who else is a saint this year?
Kathy Young has written so many incredible articles about the war against campus rape, and all of that bullshit, the rape hysteria that's going on. Let's see, FIRE, the FIRE, Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, Community of the Wrongly Accused. Always, these are organizations that are just always on top of things. Who else?
Some of these are funny. I would like to nominate feminism for being the MRM's #1 recruiter.
Yes, absolutely.
This is funny.
Yeah, no. If otherkin and fucking headmates and all of that, if that doesn't convince people that, like, that the lunatics want to run the asylum, that, and that that's maybe not the best idea. But, who else? Fucking Milo Yiannopoulos.
Otter Jesus. Fucking Otter Jesus. He's always been good. And he brings ottery goodness to us all.
He does. His pictures of little baby otters are really cute. But Milo Yiannopoulos, he's been writing very, very fairly on Gamergate. And then he did the 2 Sexodus articles. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if they're back up yet. He said that they were changing their software at the website, and that's why those 2 articles were down, and they would be back up. So I'm not going to panic yet and think that they've been pulled. But yeah, he definitely, and hey, Bill Frezza lost a job this year because he spoke out for the safety of university men.
Oh, the guy who started the Not Air Shield hashtag, who of course lost his job in all this.
Yeah.
Who are other people we can think of? I don't know. Is there
general
anybody?
Thanks. The patrons have chimed in, and here's
an
honor. Rachel, I'm talking.
Sorry.
Here's an honor to going out to Cy and Bend on Sex in the patron chat.
Bend on Sex? That's actually his name.
No, it's not actually his name. although it's a funny misspelling of his name, of his actual name that was once on a plaque, which he then kept. But yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I'd keep that too.
Thanks to all our patrons. I don't. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because they were hopping up and down and saying, "Honor us, honor us." I'm like, okay, all right.
Our patrons are awesome.
They are.
They're just as weird as we are. It's bizarre.
I also do want to thank the 2. I think there were 2 women who have filled in for Christina Hoff Sommers. She lost her husband this year.
Yeah.
And in the wake of that, there were 2 women who filled in for her a couple of times on her Factual Feminist program. God, I don't remember their names, but I definitely remember their videos and their topics and what they had to say. And they just did a really great job, and they stepped in when she was in need and sort of had her back, and that was really nice. So
I want to nominate men going their own way for basically saying that they're not going to fight the gender war, then walk away from it. And I know not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but frankly, I think the response is excellent in that it takes away the feminist weapon of being able to claim male interest and use male interest as a weapon against men. Is if they're not paying attention to women, if they're not gynocentric, if they're not obedient to women, they can't very well be used to force other men to be either.
Well, and if they're ignoring women, they can't be accused of being malicious either, right?
True.
You wanted us to leave you alone, so we did, right?
Not that would stop feminists. They bitch about it, but you know.
They hate MGTOW more than they hate pickup artists.
Yeah. How sad is that?
Well, it's typical.
Stop hitting on us. Stop hitting on us. Don't stop hitting on us. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, pickup artists, at least it's attention. They don't like it all the time, but at least it's attention, right? But it's like that line in Fatal Attraction, right? Yeah. When after she boiled the bunny in the kitchen, right, and kidnapped the little girl for the day and took her to the amusement park and like freaked the guy out and whatever, and she's like, "Well, I won't be ignored."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to.
You can love me or you can hate me, but I won't be ignored.
I want to nominate something.
Well, you can't love them. You can't hate them. You can't ignore them.
I won't be ignored. I want to nominate women who happen to be gamers. because I think that a lot of the opposition to what's going on with the social justice warriors is because they finally found a group of women where a significant portion of them refuse to damsel because their identities are about consequence and taking action. Even if it's just in the context within a game world, they are interested in the consequences of their actions, so they don't want to be reduced down to a damsel or a point scoring system for someone else. And I think that as their number increases, I think that's going to drive a lot of social change, because people are going to have to recognize that it changes the rules. If women start to say, I'm a person first, I am my actions and the consequences of my actions, my responsibilities first, and a woman second, and start to wholesale reject this victim bullshit, when the elites throw a threat narrative or try to aim a threat narrative at a subculture, they won't have any damsels to show up to populate that threat narrative. And it'll take an arsenal or a weapon out of their arsenal. And with that esoteric thought, nominate Not Your Shield. And I'll hand the mic over to Cherry.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to thank you for nominating me, aka Not Your Shield. And that part of that would have to do with growing up as a gamer girl. We all hate that term, but growing up as a gamer, spending time around mostly boys who end up also being gamers, and then men, because the ratio of men to women in gaming is heavily towards the male side, and we kind of know the truth and reality about men, and they're positive and nurturing and fun and good quality. So when we hear the feminist rhetoric, we're like, what planet are you from? What are you talking about? This is not reality. So it definitely is. Not Your Shield. I was happy to see that we and they stepped up and really had such a well-organized response to the bullshit that was Gamergate, or anti-Gamergate, whatever.
I think as women who happen to be gamers mature, I believe that they will have a natural interest in men's issues and men's vulnerabilities and responsibility to society and men, because they have that quality of seeing themselves in terms of the consequences of their actions. And
hey, after all, 9 out of 10 guys I kill in video games are guys. 9 out of 10 people I murder are men. So yes.
But I mean, you also think about it this way, right? Like when you're a kid and you're playing a video game, right? There are kids who are going to stick with it until they beat it, and they're going to have their little tantrums, and they're going to be like, I'm so fucking frustrated, blah blah blah, and they're going to throw the controller, and then they're going to 5 minutes later, they're going to come back to it and they want to beat it, right? They want to do it. They want to get the goal. They want to do that, right? And then there are others who are just like, it's just too difficult. I'm just going to go watch TV, right? And so when you have a kid that's been raised in games, and they're raised to deal with those frustrations, because sometimes it's not the people that you're playing with online who are shit-talking you, right? It's essentially the game that's shit-talking you, or it feels like it. The game is out to get you. The game is actively working against you. The game is trying to make you fail, right? And you want to beat it, right? And so I think that games, when kids stick with them, games really train them to deal with adversity, and it really trains them, and it toughens them up a little bit, and it helps them to learn how to deal with their frustrations, and it helps them to try and control their emotions so that they can focus on the objective and get it done. And so when you have girls who were raised in that culture where they're like playing games a lot, they're just going to have a thicker skin, right? Than girls who maybe come into it at age 15 and start playing games and try the culture because they've heard it's cool now. And these games are just like, they're almost like movies now, right? And then they go in and somebody calls them a bad name and they're like, oh my God, I quit.
Ever since the Kim Kardashian called her thing a game, all bars have been lowered to non-existence. I don't know if you guys know, it was a recent game that swept like 200 million.
Yes,
that
I know.
is just.
Oh God,
it's like, remember back in the day when you used to have a little cutout doll and you would have little cutout outfits that had little paper flips on them, and you would like put them on a doll and like bend the paper.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically like that on the pad.
if you were really awesome,
tablet.
if you're really awesome, you would make your own dolls and make your own outfits and cut them out.
Fashion design that shit.
So there's actually a video game of this now.
Yeah, it's like Kim
Well,
Kardashian.
not only that, but you also
Oh, good
rise.
grief.
You also
And then, of
rise
course-
up in status and stuff. And
She like calls
You
you
know,
on
and-
the phone, and you're like, "Oh my god, Kim is calling me. I have to go look fabulous," and then
un-
you like
unlike-
spend money on it.
Unlike,
And of
So
course, if you
sorta,
play
you know-
that game, after you
Unlike
play that
those
game, you
idiot male
can't stop
gamers.
changing your clothes because Wu was right.
unlike those idiot male gamers who say, as a man, I will never have a cashier ask me if I'm purchasing a game as a gift for my girlfriend. Yeah, you buying Kim
Go
Kardashian
buy Kim Kardashian.
hats and paper dolls. I'm pretty sure they're going to ask you that. And if you say no, why no? I'm buying it for myself. They're not going to be
Great.
like, wow, cool. I think I'll try and hit on you because I think you're awesome. No, they'll be like, yeah.
You know, I have to say
I'm
something.
gonna go home to my boyfriend who plays Call of Duty. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I have to say something about that. You know, the more I understand threat narratives and the more I understand the perception of weakness and the strength that you derive from it, the more it does sort of feel like when you talk about these supposedly feminine things, it starts to feel more like you're talking about a battle strategy or a like a cutthroat political strategy. So I could see like a game that really explored that could be fun. I'm not sure about cutout dolls, but it's really we really got to end this program. We are at the hour, and I have some stuff to say before we go out. I don't know if we're gonna leave on the silly place. Maybe not. Maybe some people have some silliness left to throw it out into the pot. But let me get my stuff out first.
Charlie.
Oh, shut up! You just made it awkward.
What are you doing, Charlie?
Now you're making no. Okay, awkward twins. Shut up. You're making it awkward. Now you're making it awkward for me to finish the show business.
Charlie.
I think that makes you guys even better at what you do. Anyway, so once again, thanks to Crystal for all of the great times that we've had on Honey Badger Radio with you, and good luck with whatever else life brings you or wherever it takes you. And on our moving on our Patreon, we do have a new reward. If we get to $3.50 per episode, we'll start offering a regular call-in show. And thank you to our current patrons. It's really great to have like a reminder that you care and you support the show and you want to see it continue. You actually care about the show. That's really appreciated, because as far as we can take this message, we do need you to help us take it further. And so if you want to become a patron, you can go to our patron site at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. You make the show possible. I mean, without you, we wouldn't have a voice, basically. And I want to do a shout out to one of our patrons, Martin. There you go, Martin. You got your shout out. You son of a bitch. Anyway, and I want to also say that this is going to be our last show for this year, our last Honey Badger show, group format, this kind of thing. Now we're just going to be going and doing two open silent lines, which means that you can call in. You can either talk on the radio show or just talk to us personally. And we do this because we know that there's a lot of depression and sadness and during the holiday season, but you might want to just call and talk to us about something interesting. So we do open up the lines. The number is 1-347-215-8746. Once again, that's 1-347-215-8746. We're going to be doing it Thursday next week, 9 p.m. Is it 9? Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern. And then the following Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, that is Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And the people who have stepped up to volunteer are Karen, Rachel, and myself. And yeah, so again, if you're feeling a bit depressed during the holiday season, please do give us a call. Or if you just have something interesting to talk to us about, you want us to talk about something. And yeah, it'd be great to hear from you. Yes. Someone writes in chat, Samish Height wrote in chat, badgers don't care. Well, we do care.
No,
we don't care
that
that trolls come knocking.
Yeah,
Because
the trolls
that's
come
the
and knocking.
fear.
We don't care.
That's the fear
Sophos really loves
that
you.
ugly people are going to call us. But I somehow doubt that that's going to be a big problem.
Well, like
Yeah.
my teenagers have selective hearing, I have selective caring. I give selective fucks.
Yeah, you're selective with your fucks. Wait, that didn't come out right.
No, it did. It did. I'm actually selective with my fucks. So
Yes, there we go. So it's accurate.
Yeah, so it's an accurate statement.
Yes.
All right. Well,
literally
you know,
and figuratively.
figuratively and relatively. Okay. Well, you know what? I think it's that time. It's at the end. So let's say our goodbyes. Okay,
Bye,
now you're doing it.
Charlie.
Oh, there you go.